Okay, I've seen The Devil Wears Prada 2, and this is the sequel where we are back at Runway. Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep are back, so is the entire cast as they step back into these roles. And I think for a sequel, that is a movie that came out 20 years ago, and does this feel like an unnecessary movie or a desperate cash grab? And the answer to that is no. And I'm gonna explain all that right here. So this will be my full and non-spoiler review over my thoughts and my impressions if this really worked. And I think I have a lot to say, especially like a lot of great things to say, and I think, yeah, you'll be very happy to hear these. Yeah, so let's not waste any time. And so, if you're new, then be sure to subscribe and the notification bell so I'm on any future videos, including movie reviews and much more. But now, let's talk about this movie. And now, I have to say, for a movie like The Devil Wears Prada, that I never thought it would ever get a sequel, because the sequel coming out 20 years after the first, and it's kind of hard to do a sequel to a movie like this, because if you think about it, The Devil Wears Prada is so iconic, and it stars Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep, and it talks about the fashion industry and journalism, and with a company like a Runway, and Meryl Streep plays the character of Miranda, who is Andy's boss, who was like working her so hard to do all these things, and even with Andy taking the job at Runway and doing all of these crazy things for her, it kind of felt like it's like a dark path for her to go on. But just for how like Runway is shaped to be, but when it comes to The Devil Wears Prada 2, and I believe that this was the perfect time for this movie to come out, and it is a damn good sequel. And I think how these actors fit back into their roles as if it never left, and they really feel like they really enjoyed playing these roles again. And you can see it all throughout this movie, from beginning, middle, and end. It's like it jumps right into it. And yeah, even though it is coming out 20 years after the first, and now in this modern age where you have cell phones, we have social media like Instagram, TikTok, and all that stuff, but with The Devil Wears Prada 2, it really tries to bring back the magic and the storytelling that the first movie did that was already established, but building it on something new without having it feel like slop, without having to feel like so cheesy. Because I mean, even though the early 2000s does have a little bit of cheesiness, but it does a good way of making the audiences feel invested into these characters, especially when you have, again, Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, also Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci, and oh my gosh, yeah, if you believe it, that Meryl Streep always slays when it comes to one of these movies. And I believe for what happens in this movie is that Andy now has to go back to Runway, and after being fired from her previous job, but now like what's gonna cause her to work at Runway again, to work for Miranda that worked her so hard. And this is all like the big reunion between our main characters, and I think it is damn near perfect, and it brings back everything that we love from the first movie, but creating like new ideas for how to execute on newer concepts. And it does really bring a fresh ideas to the table, just without having it feel like so forced. And I think they did a brilliant job of just like bringing that to life. And I think for how they surround Andy, and just Anne Hathaway always brings that character so much energy. And I think she does have a much better fitted story. I don't want to be comparing this to the original, but for what the sequel does, you'll definitely be fall in love than the first movie. And while I do think of the humor, and yes, this is a fashion comedy, but the way that they want to make the audiences laugh, to feel attached, to relate to these characters for what storylines that they have to go through, but it does pull off a very clever comedic bits there and there to really make it feel like it's perfect timing and not having it feel like rushed material. And that's what it really feels like just with this movie. Like, it tries to make it feel authentic and trying to come up with much cleaner ideas just to have it feel it that way. Yeah, it's The Devil Wears Prada, and the original movie is very iconic for a reason. Just to seeing these other cast members really feel like they really fit the chemistry with the other characters, as they really like return to the roles in such a brilliant way that is not feeling forced. And it's so good seeing Andy and Nigel having that on-screen dynamic again as it was to the first. I mean, and even though it carries a ton of weight to what the sequel has to present, and I think seeing like Stanley Tucci still slay just in that role as he did about 20 years ago, it really says a lot. And I think, man, it's really, it tries to be in like such a competition when you have Emily Blunt. I think of how they fit in such the journalism side of things, and for how also it carries from like the first act of the movie and all the way up to like, I think there's some twists and there are surprises, and how Anne Hathaway's character really tries to step back for what her role in that first movie was really impacted by for audiences, and now to truly feel like she has a really big connection just to this character alone, because we've seen it with a ton of other sequels that made their returns from the first, but it doesn't like feel like the same. But I think with the sequel, it does carry all of the magic and all from that world all the way up to here, because this is a very well complex established world filled with such as the fashion industry as it comes along. You'll be laughing and you'll be having like emotional heartfelt moments and connections that you will definitely be filled with, and I think you'll be definitely satisfied leaving the theater. And yeah, this is how you do a sequel, and I think by the end it definitely does feel like a movie that is much needed in this day and age. With some other sequels out there, they're usually like a different or like a cash grab, but I think this is beyond a perfect timing. And even though I cannot spoil anything else in the third act, but yeah, there is a surprise cameo that you might be familiar with, but I'm not going to spoil it here, but you'll have to watch and find out. But I think this movie accomplishes so much that they really bring in these characters now to, you know, like what the situation is, what the future of runway and what the fashion industry looks like for them. It does a really good job of making, like, especially with Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep, they really still do carry those characters. And I could speak for myself as if, like, I'm pretty sure everyone will enjoy everything about this as they did from the original. Yeah, so I think that's all I have. But yeah, I guess for my final thoughts in general, The Devil Wears Prada 2 is a clear winner. This is how you do a sequel. It's a damn good, or should I say perfect, sequel to really carry on from the original. And especially if you are a fan of the first movie, you'll definitely enjoy everything that this sequel has to offer. It really does fresh new ideas, and the cast really brings the energy, that spark, to really want to create something brand new again. And I think it really does carry that big open journey to how everything from fashion to journalism, as how Runway is different, but it really does. Also with the callbacks and the nostalgia from the first movie, especially if it does not need to rely on those certain elements. Yeah, this movie, it just does it all. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know down below. And if you've seen The Devil Wears Prada at the time of this review, let me know down below. And also, if you have not seen it, but also give me a rating between 1 out of 10. 10 being the highest in the comments down below. Don't like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos. Also follow all my social medias only down below. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.